Deadpool 3 is in development. A plethora of Star Wars news comes to light. We review The Mandalorian and The Witcher's first season, plus more. All happening this week on You Heard with Nerds.
Hey guys, welcome back into the podcast. You Heard with Nerds. I'm Brett.
I'm Dorian.
And Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Well, I'm glad you're back, Dorian.
Yep.
Last week was cool with Tim, but excited to get back into a normal rhythm. Hope you all had a Happy New Year and an awesome Christmas. Thank you guys so much for those of you who have supported our last few episodes. Just wanted to kind of touch base on our giveaway again. We're giving away a Star Wars Black Series figure, Luke Skywalker. All you got to do is go to our Facebook or Twitter. You got to like the post for this podcast, which is going to be episode 4. You comment on it and you share it, and you get entered in to win. And you can do that with any of our episodes, basically. So you can do it multiple times. It just helps your chances of winning this awesome figure. But enough of that. We're going to get into our nerd news for the week. And there was a lot of nerd news, a lot. I assumed this after a slow kind of week or two of, especially from the holidays.
Oh, yeah.
And so we're going to get right into it. First up, Deadpool 3 is in development at Marvel.
Yeah.
Now, why is this important?
Well, because for one, Deadpool is a rated R movie.
Yes,
it is. The last two have been done more than their fair share to earn their rated R status. So, and, obviously Marvel, or the MCU, I should say, is more family focused, go for the more PG-13 ratings by and large here. You don't really see much of the stuff that you'd find in like a Deadpool movie showing up in MCU movie. So
do you think that they'll even attach the Disney name to this movie, or just keep it Fox?
I think they probably will try to distance. Yeah, I think just in general, just kind of like how you don't see the Disney logo play in front of like any of the Marvel movies or even the Star Wars movies. I think they'll just like brand it as like its own thing. So It'll probably be under the Fox banner, if that even exists anymore here.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Yeah, because they acquired it. I don't know. Yeah, they might just do it Marvel, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Because they have to kind of expand, and especially after acquiring that, they have to keep going with it with how successful the Deadpool franchise is.
Yeah.
So do you think it will be connected to the MCU, or kind of a one-shot, like its own universe, own thing?
I think, here's the thing. I mean, I think it'd be awesome if it was connected to the MCU, just because, I mean, I would love to see Deadpool interact with, like, say, somebody like Spider-Man or something like that. Exactly. Yeah. However, I think just because you're kind of in a tricky situation, this is a character you probably do want to bring into the MCU, but at the same time, if you're going to do that, you're kind of exposing the MCU to that rated R territory that Disney kind of wants to steer clear from here. So yeah, I think probably what will end up happening is they will do it just kind of standalone, and it'll be like just its own thing. That way they can kind of keep their rated R status and keep everything that they have, because Disney said that they are open to keeping Deadpool rated R here.
Sure.
So
I mean, yeah, why change it if it's been successful?
Exactly. And I mean, I think if you were to change it, I mean, you're going to be upsetting some people who, wanted to see the rated R Deadpool, which, I mean, that's kind of what the character is. He's more of a rated R character and all that. So,
I mean, and that doesn't cut out Deadpool just making a random cameo in someone's movie.
Yeah, exactly.
He could be a PG-13 version of himself.
Yeah.
They might, they could use a bleep button, whatever,
Which would honestly be kind of hilarious, just because they could have it where, Deadpool will say the F word or something like that. Yeah. And then they bleep him out. He's like, oh, wait, that's right. I'm in a PG-13 movie here.
He could, break the fourth wall.
Yeah, exactly.
Comic relief or something.
I feel like that could work, but I don't know how, if they are willing to go that route.
No, I don't think they will, just because of the fourth wall you'd have to break, unless it was like a movie that was already doing that. Like if they kind of took that same concept. But I don't think they're gonna.
Yeah.
I can see him showing up in a team up potentially, out of nowhere maybe. I don't know. If we get a kind of not a. I don't even know where he would fit in.
I mean,
honestly.
Probably the X-Men movies, I would imagine.
Yeah, that actually could be something.
Yeah,
that could be something for sure. Yeah, and I agree with you. I think he's gonna have his own thing, but what they could do, they have the Deadpool, kind of set up, and they're usually minor characters and the minor villain because Deadpool doesn't go up against people like Thanos.
Well, I mean,
right?
he has occasionally, but
no, in the movies.
But yeah, or like, but
so
like,
far,
yeah, so far. But in general, he does come up or go against like more small timers here. I think that's more of his shtick.
And so what I think they could do is bring a PG-13 character into that, like Tom Holland or his Spider-Man, or or even depending on what they do with Sony with the Venom franchise.
Yeah, because there's rumors that Tom Holland's going to be showing up in Venom 2 here.
Yeah, and that could be something if that deal ever gets worked out where they actually acquire Venom and those characters from Sony, that could work. Because I've heard them wanting to do a darker Venom. Like, they want to move towards R, especially with Carnage being the main antagonist for the next movie.
Well, yeah, I mean, and we talked about this like a couple weeks ago. We're seeing more rated R comic book movies here that are mainstream. So yeah, I think there is a possibility that you could see Venom in rated R territory. I know they wanted to make the first one rated R here, but the studio got in the way of that. So I don't know. We'll see.
Sweet. All right, moving into Witcher. Witcher is big in streaming if you have not heard.
Yep.
And Dorian told me this news, and I was surprised myself. Had to do some research, and it's all true.
Yeah.
What we're about to say. So, it's the third most streamed show behind Stranger Things and Mandalorian in the U.S.
Yep.
Worldwide, however, that is different.
Yeah, it's the biggest.
It's the biggest, which
surpassing Mandalorian.
And so that makes sense because Netflix, I think, has about 120 million subscribers, and Disney only has about 60 million.
Oh, is it up to 60 million now?
Something like that.
Okay, yeah.
So you got to think in terms of it doesn't have the same viewership.
Yeah.
Still very surprising that this show drew in that big of a crowd.
Yeah, no, I mean, especially considering how this is a series that, like, I mean, we'll get to it in my review a little bit later on in the show, but this doesn't really explain a lot to like a lot of people who are non-Witcher people or like non-Witcher fans.
Get any of
like, there's a lot of things or like little nods to like certain characters or certain events that, unless you are familiar with that universe, it's going to fly right over your head.
Yeah.
So it kind of almost makes me wonder, like, just because of how successful this has been, like, will they actually make the next season more inclusive, like actually explain things more, actually make it like tone down some of like the rated R stuff a little bit more here?
I hope so, because that's honestly what turns me off from the series is I don't mind the gore, it's everything else.
Sure, yeah.
And so like this is probably I'm not going to finish the series,
right?
I don't think. And so but the whole thing is just surprising to me because you think about the audience that something like The Mandalorian is going to draw. Kids can watch it.
Yeah, no.
It's a clean show.
And
there's violence, but it's not overly gory.
No,
not
at all.
Something like this where it's that kind of that grimdark, which is a subgenre in fantasy.
Yeah.
Where it's just overly violent. It's over the top kind of on all those kind of...
all those
things,
rated
those
R
fronts.
check boxes here. Yeah.
Right. And so... yeah, I hope and this could be part of like the storytelling, because there's, if you read books and stuff too, like they don't always explain stuff in the first novel. It takes a couple of them to really give you a full picture into the world itself. And so I think that's probably what they're doing.
Sure. Yeah.
So yeah, Witcher is big in streaming, and that's it for our news for The Witcher. But some gaming news.
Mm-hmm.
Red Dead Redemption's coming to Switch potentially.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't play the Red Dead games.
Right.
So, what does that mean?
So, basically, Red Dead Redemption 2 is probably the biggest open world game on current gen right now here. The file size is like 100 gigabytes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, no, it's a lot. So, basically, long story short, the news comes from some data miners that found a icon in like the game that looks like a Nintendo Switch Pro controller for one.
Inside of Red Dead Redemption 2?
Yeah, I think
wow.
I think they were data mining the PC version of it, and then also there's a website called Instant Gaming Store, which has Red Dead Redemption 2 being listed as a Switch game to come out in 2020. No specific date, but yeah. So
I mean, they could. Like, I just feel like it's probably going to get the down resolution treatment.
Absolutely.
But that's such a huge file. Like, you're taking up a whole memory card, basically.
Yeah, I mean,
for one game.
Well, I mean, I think like again, I can't really speak to what they do for like ports of like current gen games onto the Switch, like how much they shrink the file size down because.
Well, they're going to have to. Otherwise, we're all going to be buying terabyte
memory cards
that are super expensive, and I'm not about that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think they will, but it's like, how much can they actually do that and still preserve the game here, you know? But, I mean, I do feel like this rumor probably is actually pretty likely just because, I mean...
We've seen other games come that we were surprised that came
like
the Switch.
Yeah, The Witcher, for example, just came out last year, and granted that game is a little bit of a downgrade if you're from playing on like, your Xbox One or your PlayStation 4. However, it still is functional. It still works. And yeah, so I mean, I think, if I was Rockstar and I looked at, the numbers that the Switch was, pulling in for like, ports of current gen games, I would probably want to get on that too.
Yeah, and I'm sure part of it played into, especially with Witcher 3, the Wild Hunt, is that they knew that a show was coming out.
Yeah, they could capitalize on that.
Yeah, and people want to play it on the go, So,
well, not to mention too, it's just like, when you have like these big like open worlds, 100+ hour games and all that, you want to be able to like, try to squeeze as much time or put as much time into that as you can here just to kind of see and do stuff. And so when you have the ability to like play it portably or wherever you want here, like, you're at the laundromat doing your laundry or something like that.
It's super convenient.
Exactly.
And people are going to pay that money, especially if they love that series.
Yeah.
To have it accessible wherever they go.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, because I just purchased, or I guess it was a while ago, but I just now started playing The Witcher 3, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. But
yeah,
I mean, I got it on PlayStation.
Yeah,
because I just wanted it to look a little bit nicer.
Yeah, you wanted the best version of it,
and it was way cheaper.
Oh yeah, no,
I think I got it for like $14 or something, or $12 or something.
With all DLC included. Yeah,
instead of 40 or 50, which is what it's going for on the Switch. So
yeah.
All right, so we got some Star Wars news for you guys. Mandalorian Season 2 is coming out fall 2020. It has been confirmed by Disney.
Mm-hmm.
Now, something that we've seen with other shows, especially popular shows such as Stranger Things, and now The Witcher, where you're going to have to wait at least a year for new seasons to come out. That's not the case.
Yeah, no, it's they're already underway. It feels like they said, it's going to be pretty much coming around the same time. It started this last year.
So a couple other things that have been confirmed with the series is that Skywalker Saga characters will be in season 2.
So now, what does that mean? Like, are we talking like big characters like Han's going to make an appearance?
It could be. Now, I think kind of where they could go with this, being a continuation almost of those solo characters that we haven't, because they're coming out with the Maul series.
Yeah.
This wouldn't take too far out, take place too far after that, and it doesn't.
No,
because you got to think Solo's right before episode 4.
Yeah,
and I don't and so from 4 to 6, there's not like a crazy amount of time that passes.
Well, it's probably like, I'm trying to think because Han is like probably what, like maybe 10 years younger than what we see him in episode 4 or something like that in the Solo movie.
I'm not sure what the time. It's somewhere around there. It's not a long time.
So probably like a 15-year time span.
Not even that, I don't think.
You don't think so?
Probably like 12, I'm guessing.
12,
yeah.
Okay.
So we could still get those characters being part of the Mandalorian. So you could see a young Lando played by Donald Glover.
You could, yeah, even though technically he should be Billy D. Williams Lando now.
Well, Billy D. Williams is 100 years old.
Exactly, yeah.
But that doesn't even make any sense because you could say that about the original or the movie itself. Like it
Sure.
was young Lando, but not that much younger than he was in the actual series.
That is true.
You're
Yes.
just recasting the character.
That is true. Yeah.
And so we could see, Kira. We could see, and so this is kind of what I'm thinking is that they might be tying in the Mandalorian with those other shows, and that may be coming on Disney Plus.
So, do you think like they're kind of starting to work towards like almost like a MCU type deal with all their shows?
I think they will, and it doesn't have to necessarily match up time frame wise, but just sharing characters almost.
Yeah.
Think of it in those terms.
Okay.
I think is what they might be shooting for.
Yeah.
Now it is very vague. Skywalker characters can mean a lot of things. That can mean R2-D2.
Yeah.
That could mean C-3PO. That we get little characters. They're not little characters, obviously, but a character that is kind of timeless.
Yeah.
Could be a part of the show. Or at least cameo.
I mean, I think like probably the most. I think like the most likely candidate that we could probably see, Boba Fett, just because.
Oh yeah.
Just because I mean, it's been hinted at like numerous times.
We still don't know who that dark figure is, and a lot of people think it's Boba Fett.
Yeah, a lot of people think it's Boba Fett, but it's been hinted at a lot of times, and I think even like in the extended universe before,
Legends.
Legends and all that. I mean, he did get out of the Sarlacc pit. He did, show up, started doing his thing again, all that stuff. So
what do we think as far as what's gonna happen with season 2?
Season 2, I think we'll probably start out it kind of being like almost more like standalone adventures or something like that, just because right now, at least in Mando's kind of got a little bit of a clean slate. He took out like the immediate threat, so he probably has a little bit of time to run around. Now, this is something that we kind of talked about, but
yeah.
So I think the Imperials probably won't play a big role in this season until like maybe towards the end here. I think they'll be on hiatus for a little bit, and then they'll show up like maybe in the last couple episodes and then like start, messing stuff up.
Okay. Yeah, and I don't necessarily agree with that. And kind of what you're saying is they'll show up later in the season, but they won't be there right off the bat, which could be the pacing of it. I still think we're going to get storylines that involve the Imperials just because of now Moff Gideon is the big bad.
Right, yeah.
He has the Darksaber, which technically whoever wields the Darksaber rules Mandalore.
Really?
Yeah, and so it's a huge deal to the Mandalorian if, the Mandalorians themselves that he has this.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of ties into something later we're going to talk about, but I don't think you leave it on a cliffhanger like that without him being the continual big bag for the next season and him going after the Mandalorian directly after this shot where he comes out of his TIE fighter.
Yeah.
I think they probably immediately go to him trying to figure out how to find him, basically. Like, the Imperials might be hunting down the Mandalorian still. Now, that doesn't mean that other things can't happen. There, maybe it's episode 3 or 4 that the Imperials find him, and then it's kind of his battle, or he's still trying to evade the Imperial officers on different planets and the stormtroopers. And ultimately, I think the Mandalorian's going to end up with the Darksaber,
which would be awesome.
Yeah, how bad Mamma Jamma would that be?
Oh, it'd be so baller.
Yeah,
but I mean, one thing I think I didn't include in the show notes, but now that it just kind of came to me as we're talking about it, because what's the planet with all the bounty hunters on it? Do you remember the name?
Oh, shoot! Like
the one where all the Mandalorians were.
Oh, I don't remember off the top of my head.
But that was just only like one sect of like or like one community of the Mandalorians.
We don't know.
We don't know.
Because of the siege on Mandalore and the purge that they talk about.
Yeah.
Which they're very vague about.
Yeah, in terms of how many that are actually out there. How many
we
survived.
have no idea right now. And I want to say season 2 is going to hit on that.
Yeah.
They have to, I feel like.
Yeah, because I mean, it's like, is Mando and the Forger Mandalorian, like, are they the only Mandalorians left here, essentially?
Right. Yeah, we don't know.
Yeah.
And I think because Dave Filoni's kind of come out and said who's the showrunner for the Clone Wars series, which we're getting season 7 in February.
Yeah.
They will talk specifically and have that as an integral part of their story arc that they're going to be telling is the Siege on Mandalore.
Yeah.
So we're going to see back the kind of what that is, which I think is really cool that they're tying that in kind of to the Mandalorian show, but you're going back in time to see what actually happened on this animated show.
Yeah.
On like what happened. So I'm guessing not Grand, I always want to call him Grand Moff.
Yeah.
Moff Gideon might show up on the Clone Wars show.
Yeah, it's a possibility, yeah.
And we might see a young Mando potentially.
Potentially, yeah, because that would be roughly the right amount of time here.
Yeah, where he became a foundling.
Yeah.
So we could see a very young Din Djarin.
Yeah.
It's very possible. Which I think would be really cool.
Very possible.
All right. Yeah. So that's where we kind of think maybe season 2 is going, potentially.
Yeah, potentially.
A couple other things, and these are kind of little things, but the Kenobi Disney Plus series will have a young Luke Skywalker. Now this could just be like a little role in the background. It didn't really allude to him being a continuing character on the show.
Yeah. Which, I mean, we still don't really know, like what exactly the main premise of this show is really going to be, because
No, we don't.
Because as far as we knew, like after episode 3 came out, it's like, okay, Obi-Wan went into retirement for like about 18 to 20 years, and then picks up Luke and saves Luke from the Sand People in like A New Hope and all that, and then goes from there.
Right.
But I mean, so it's like the question is like, what's he doing that whole time? Like, is there stuff in the background that we don't know about? Because Rebels kind of touched on this a little bit with like him squaring up against Darth Maul again here.
Yeah, and that wasn't a super long story arc. It was just something that, I mean, the Maul part was, but him going back to Tatooine to finish off Kenobi was, but he didn't, obviously. Now, there is a familiarity that Luke has with Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah.
And so Ben Kenobi, he's at least known. And so I think they might, like, and think about this as a child. You can meet someone and know someone, and then, when you come to adulthood, be like, I don't remember you that very much.
Oh, yeah, no, very, very much so.
And so that might be kind of how they play it, I think.
Possibly, yeah.
And it could be in flashbacks, where I mean flashbacks. I'm thinking in terms of the Mandalorian. There have been rumors that Kenobi's actually going to be part of that, and so there could be flashbacks we get, like
okay, so
with the Mandalorian, maybe he did meet Obi-Wan Kenobi, and maybe he was at the Siege of Mandalore as a child.
Yeah,
and Kenobi was one of the Jedi that showed up to kind of help you figure that out.
Yeah. So
we could see that might be where we first see our Kenobi is on Mandalorian season 2.
That'd be interesting, yeah.
Yeah. And Hayden, so this is another thing. Hayden Christensen's rumored to be in the Kenobi series as well.
Yeah.
And again, flashbacks, I'm guessing, because he's probably going to be dealing with that PTSD of what happened in episode 3.
Well, will they just like reuse footage?
No, I think they'll get Hayden Christensen to come and shoot some original footage.
I mean,
he's not doing anything
exactly
that I know of.
Yeah.
So.
I think the last thing I saw him in was that movie with Nick Cage.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, I remember watching that.
Yeah.
That was not a good movie.
Nope.
So, yeah, and so talking about the Clone Wars a little bit and Mandalorian ties, I think Disney's really trying to kind of interweave their media on all fronts, whether it's a Disney Plus show, a movie, the comics. I mean, we've kind of seen it with like the Force healing across all the different platforms. Like the comic had it, the Mandalorian show had it, and Rise of Skywalker had it.
Yeah.
And so I think they're going to keep kind of going with that.
Yeah, just kind of have more synergy between, everything.
Yeah, and it makes for better storytelling.
Yeah, no, it does. Well, I mean, it's obvious, like, I think pretty much from the get-go, Disney wanted Star Wars to be kind of their next MCU here,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And, I mean, yeah, because initially they were going to have a Star Wars movie be released every year. Now they've kind of dialed that back, and now I think they're going to try to make everything a little bit more interconnected, which I mean, technically like the last, couple, like some of the movies like Solo and Rogue One, they're not interconnected into like what's currently going on, like, the sequel trilogy or stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And so this could be, like I said earlier, how we see Moff Gideon get the Darksaber. I mean, there could be just a lot of different ways. They really try to give us more, background on these characters that we've just been introduced to, like in the last year or so.
Yeah.
And then I heard, this is not in the show notes either, but I randomly heard that Daisy Ridley is going to be coming back for other movies. And so
really?
Yeah. And so I don't know what that means. I don't know if we're going to get
episode 10
and so on. I'm sure we will.
I mean, yeah,
there's almost like guaranteed that we will.
I think they will probably wait till like maybe Star Wars 50th anniversary, because we're at 42 years back in 2019, so 43 years.
I don't think they'll wait that long.
You don't think they'll wait that long? Okay.
No, and I think it really depends on the Disney Plus series, how they do, where they're at, their storytelling, and kind of where they want to go with it.
Sure, yeah.
But that was the rumor I heard. I don't know. And then another rumor is that there is a J.J. Abrams cut of The Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
So spoiler alert.
Yep.
Obviously, there were spoilers for Mando season 1. We probably should have said something about that.
We probably should have, but oh well.
So this news comes from a leaker. We don't know who this leaker is. We know he's involved with either Disney or probably Bad Robot. I'm not really sure. Or he has some kind of ties to J.J. Abrams.
Yeah, at least
one of the companies that he works for.
At least he's claiming to be here.
Right.
So.
And so take this with a grain of salt. If it's not true, I'm sorry. But so there's a couple of things we're going to highlight from the leak. One of them being JJ did not like this cut of Star Wars at all.
Yeah.
There was supposedly heavy meddling from Disney with this movie.
Yeah.
And they wanted fan service out the wazoo, which we got. And it almost, like, the way the leaker explains it is that JJ was he was just so mad at what Disney did. He's like, why don't you just basically say that this is directed by Lucasfilm?
Yeah.
Like, I don't want, like, why am I having to do all these things for you?
Yeah, like, why am I even doing this if you are going to be the ones making all the decisions and, like, not allowing me any creative freedom or any creative input on this project?
Yeah, and so supposedly they made cuts without him.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a big deal, especially if you're the director of a movie.
Yeah.
Now, and I guess there was rumors that JJ wanted to split this movie into 2 movies, which would have probably been a lot better.
In all honesty, yeah, probably would have been.
And then one of the other things we want to highlight is that, we got those voices when Rey was kind of trying to channel the Force, right?
Right,
They were encouraging her. And apparently those are supposed to be Force ghosts, and they actually shot live action scenes with those people. So
according to the leak,
so we would have got Qui-Gon Jinn, Mace Windu, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Anakin Skywalker. We got Luke again. Yeah. And so, what do you think about that?
I mean, I think if this is true, honestly, I probably would have enjoyed the movie more if this was the cut that we got, because
this would have been the ultimate ending, I feel like.
Well, exactly. I mean, again, it's like, this, one of the problems I had with this movie was it was advertised as the end of the Star Wars story as we know it. At least the main
Skywalker.
Yeah, the main Star Wars story that we've all grew up on, come to know and love. And yeah, so I mean, I think, like, if you're not going to go all out and like have, like, past Jedi show up, kind of like, kind of similar to that scene in Endgame where like everybody shows up at the end here, I mean, again, I think, yeah, if you're not going to go all out for like a finale, it's kind of like, what's the point?
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it could have been a lot better. And again, we don't know if this is actually like true. This is just what the leaker's saying. They expanded on a couple plot points from the movie. One of them kind of being like Jaina was confirmed to be Lando's daughter, and I don't know if there was more dialogue with that or what.
Yeah, because they left it kind of vague, but it also kind of like made you the scene that we got in the movie. It made you kind of be like, huh, that seems like a little interesting thing to say without like any actual context behind it here and all that.
Yeah, and then there was, other scenes like the Mustafar scene at the beginning of the movie with Kylo Ren.
Yeah,
was 2 minutes longer apparently.
Yeah,
which could have been awesome.
Could have been.
2 minutes was a long time
for an action scene. Yeah,
right. And it could have been more. It could have been like showed them going into, because the Wayfinder was supposed to be in Vader's castle,
right?
The ruins of it, and so we could have got more of that. And then when Poe was lightspeed hopping, he was supposed to go to other planets like Kashyyyk, which is the Wookiee planet, Coruscant, and then Kamino, which is the cloning planet. So I thought that was a huge missed opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, especially considering how it's interesting because for a movie that's so much about fan service, not to have that extra spots in the light speeding jump, because you're talking maybe an additional 2 minutes to the cut.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So
and then apparently JJ was against Reylo, which I'm about.
I'm about that too.
I'm about it being nixed completely from the movie. When I say I'm about that, I don't agree with Reylo. If you've heard our other podcast, neither does Dorian.
Yeah.
So. But yeah, those were just a couple of the highlights from that leak. If you want to check it out, you could go to Reddit and search for it or Google it. But I mean, what are we going to do? It's never going to come out. There's no way Disney's letting this footage out.
No, Disney is well, here's the thing. Apparently there's the Snyder Cut for Justice League
and we're never going to get that too.
Well, right. And the thing is Warner Brothers is not as big as a company as Disney. So if Warner Brothers is going to stand their ground on it, you can bet your dollar that Disney is not going to budge.
Disney's going to send assassins after this guy probably.
Oh, yeah.
Whoever they are.
Yep, exactly.
Another news, I guess it's still Disney news, not necessarily Star Wars news. Disney was kind of seeing a drop-off of subscribers, which makes sense after The Mandalorian aired.
Yeah.
And so they moved Wanda Vision up to 2020.
Yeah.
So... why?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I get the move. It's okay, you need more original content.
So was it just ready sitting around and they were just hey, we're just going to put it out in 2021 or whatever?
That's kind of what I'm wondering about.
It's kind of weird
because it's
are they moving production up?
That's another thing I'm wondering too, is okay, so where is the production in on this? Have they filmed it? Are they starting to film it and they're going to just really do crunch to get the production ready for I don't know, maybe a summer release or something like that?
I don't think it could come that quick because they would have probably had it been done by shooting by now.
Right. But I mean, again, the point, but then what's the point of bringing it out if you have Mandalorian returning in the fall here,
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Is okay, if Mandalorian is coming back in a year, you need something basically in the next few months to continue subscribership.
Yeah.
Right? And so I think they're seeing that and they're okay, we actually have to have something probably come out every quarter for people to keep their subscriptions.
Yeah. Which, I mean, even then, it's I still feel this is not going to be the thing that replaces The Mandalorian here. I think it's a little bit of a futile move just because from what we know about this series, it's supposed to be kind of more of a sitcom-y series here. It's supposed to be more comedic based. I mean, I'm sure there will be action and some interesting plot threads for the MCU to chew on. They even said that WandaVision is essentially going to be a precursor to the next Doctor Strange movie because Wanda Maximoff is going to be in that movie.
Right.
But that being said, it's if this is what you got to really keep people from cutting off the subscription, I don't think this is it here, to be honest.
Yeah, and I don't know, Marvel's huge.
It is.
They're going to draw in viewership with this series, I feel like. Now, I don't know why this is the first series they're doing.
Right, yeah, well, especially...
If you had something like Winter Soldier, Falcon, or Hawkeye, you're going to get people wanting that.
Yeah, no, I think there would be a lot more interest in that here.
Unless this is kind of the series that sets all that up.
Possibly, yeah. I mean, and here's the thing. It's this is focusing on Vision and Scarlet Witch, which, I mean, they're not really the most popular characters to come out of the MCU here, to be honest.
Especially Vision.
Yeah.
Tim Seabrecht would have a lot to say about that.
Oh, he's got a lot to say about that.
But yeah, so that kind of wraps that up, I guess. There's not really much more we have on WandaVision, so I guess we're just looking forward to 2020 with it. And so that's it for our nerd news. We're going to move into our roundtable review. And so, Dorian, take it away.
All right. So first up, we have season 1 of The Mandalorian. So we're gonna kind of keep this mostly spoiler free as much as possible here, just because.
Even though we talked about it earlier a little bit,
we did, but
sorry about that.
Yeah, sorry about that. But so let's start off with what we liked here. So, when it comes to Star Wars, I really like when they expand the lore here, like in the TVs and the movie shows and all that here. I think that's that's like one of the things that I really enjoy about it. The other thing is it's a very original trilogy feel here. Like they
did a good job with that.
I feel like they raided whatever museum they keep all the costumes, the puppets, all that stuff. I feel like they raided that and they brought it back for this show here. I mean, you get to see the Jawas, you get to see the Sand People, you get to see, all the things that, you are familiar with from the original trilogy in terms of just production design here. Yeah. So, I think first 3 episodes, great, are great. And the last 2 episodes are great as well here. I think in the middle, it does get a little, it does meander a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, I did like the one standalone episode where it's like the heist / horror episode.
Yeah, that one was awesome.
Yeah, I think it's episode 6.
It is.
I really like that one. And then Baby Yoda. Come on, man.
Yeah, everyone loves Baby Yoda.
And here's the thing is when I am typically not someone who really is a sucker for cute things here because
I'm not either, but he was adorable.
Well, and the reason being is just because I feel okay, yes, I understand what you guys are doing. You're trying to play on my emotions, and that kind of turns me off from it here. But
it worked.
It worked here, and I think it's just because they did it in a more natural way, if that makes sense.
Sure.
But yeah. No, that's what I liked about season 1 of The Mandalorian. What about you?
Yeah, I agree with kind of everything you said when it comes to, the feel of it. It had a great start, great finish. I agree. There was a couple of episodes in the middle that weren't great, but they're still, I think, good, worth watching.
Sure, yeah.
And I think a couple of those episodes are places we're going to come back to or plot lines that will be part of season 2. So I'm guessing there was an overall reason they were there. They weren't just there to be there. I loved episodes 1 through 3 and 6 through 8. 4 and 5 were kind of the kind of lower on the totem pole as far as my favorite episodes.
Sure.
The horror heist was something I liked a lot, and they did it super well. And I hope they do more stuff like this. Not necessarily it doesn't have to be horror heist.
Yeah.
But I think that it was just a really cool thing to do. And so I hope they take kind of maybe tropes from other genres and do it well in the next season. Yeah,
or just show us what a specific genre would look like in the Star Wars universe.
Totally. Totally. And Baby Yoda is Life Day.
Yeah.
Baby Yoda is the stuff. And so he is the comic relief. He is the cuteness that all the, boys and girls and adults alike enjoy and will probably always enjoy, because he's not going to age a day, even if they do if they do this show for 10 seasons.
Yeah, exactly. Because he's already 50 years old. Yeah. Here. I'm predicting the end of the show is where he says his first words here or something like
probably.
that. Yeah.
Probably. But and he's probably going to say, "This is the way."
That'd be cool.
Because he's a foundling now.
Yeah, no, he is.
So, all right. So, yeah.
So now we're going to get into what we didn't like. So, like I mentioned earlier, episode 4, episode 5, probably the weakest episodes in the season. It's not like they're bad or anything.
They're not. No.
It's just they're not really connected to the main story for one, and it is kind of a little bit more like world building / kind of like side quests, if you want to call it that way. Here.
Yeah, I totally get what you're saying.
And the other thing that is, I'm kind of on the fence about this. I don't know how I feel about Carl Weathers' character, because like it seems like every scene he's in, like he's speaking with like a lot of gravitas. Or
Yeah,
like,
so I actually didn't mind that because it was kind of cheesy.
Yeah.
Which I don't get because he's played characters where he doesn't talk like that.
Well, yeah, like Apollo Creed was like just kind of a normal, like kind of talked normally, didn't make like big grand speeches or something like that. Yeah.
And so I thought it was weird because he was like the over the top, like, Mandalorian, how are you doing today?
Yeah,
like, you know, kind of that big, kind of theatrical.
Yes.
And so I actually didn't mind he was doing that. I know a lot of people were annoyed by that who I've talked to.
Yeah.
I think Grief Targa might be kind of even that connection point where we get characters like maybe Lando Calrissian or Han or Chewie to be a part of this part of the universe, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I guess talking through my kind of things I didn't really like as much was 4 and 5 kind of felt like they were fodder for something in the future.
Sure.
It wasn't necessarily something integral to the story this season.
Mm-hmm.
They did, however, introduce us to Kara.
Yeah, which, I mean, not getting into any spoilers. I mean, she is a character that does get introduced and plays a bigger role
in later episodes.
Yep.
And then we get the caped figure.
Yeah.
Somewhere in there.
Yeah, so
which you'll figure that out if you finish the season.
Yep. And we still don't have any answers on who that is.
We really don't.
So
or why.
Yeah.
So no payoff this season, but we'll see what it brings.
Yep. So thoughts overall. Why don't you go first on this one here?
I mean, I think it's the best show I watched all year.
Yeah.
And I think we kind of agree on that.
Right behind Masked Singer.
Right behind Masked Singer. Daughtry should have won, but I was okay with Wayne Brady. I think it does create that excitement for other shows on this platform, though.
Yeah, it's very much so.
Now, there's going to be a wide range of shows coming to this thing.
Yeah, no.
Like, right now, if you look on Disney Plus, I've been watching a lot of throwback stuff on there.
Sure, yeah.
Like, if someone came to me and was like, hey, what are you watching? And I'm like, I'm watching Even Stevens.
Right,
Right?
Yeah.
And so, because I'm rewatching those old shows, I'm rewatching those old DComs, the Disney Channel original movies like Johnny Tsunami. I just watched that with my wife the other day.
Yeah.
I'm not watching their original programming because a lot of it right now, other than The Mandalorian, is geared towards young people.
Right, yeah.
You got High School Musical, the musical. You got, Togo I haven't seen, which is like what's his name? William Dafoe, I think is in it.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then they have... What else do they have? They have some original programming like just like family friendly stuff, which is fine, but it's not something specific to where I'm like, oh, I'm going to jump on board with this.
Right, exactly.
My wife started watching Pick of the Litter, which is about service animals, like dogs, which is kind of interesting. Like I watched the first episode. It was fine.
It's a documentary.
And so it's not like a sitcom or series that I'm like, man, I got to keep Disney Plus. Disney Plus is keeping there out of pure nostalgia.
Sure, exactly. And
but I think this is really what's going to set up we both have talked about, just the bar they're setting for their original programming.
Yeah. No, I mean, pretty much everything you just said, I completely agree with. It actually mirrors my own opinion on this here. But no, I think right now, Disney Plus, I mean, just a quick tangent. Yeah, I mean, a lot of their stuff is very family focused or very, very kid friendly, but I mean, it's Disney. You kind of already knew that's how it's going to be.
For sure.
I mean, that being said...
I mean, they have Disney Channel, though. Like, why... I don't really get... I guess it's bringing... It would make kids want their parents to get it if they want to watch those original shows. So I get that from a marketing perspective.
Yeah.
I'm just like, give me the stuff I want. Give me Marvel. Give me Star Wars. Give me all of that.
Well, yeah. And I mean, granted, like, we are getting Clone Wars... next month here.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's probably going to tide, at least like... the hardcore Star Wars fan base over for a little bit here.
For sure.
But yeah, I think that being said, it's like it is going to be we might have a little bit of a dry season where there's like no like, banger shows that are coming out to the platform until like, Wanda Vision possibly might come out or, Mando season 2.
Season 2 in the fall.
Yep. So moving on from that. So a game that you and I have just picked up and played recently, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order.
Yes.
So What are your first impressions on it? Because you haven't beaten it yet, right?
No, I haven't beaten it.
Yeah, I'm probably like maybe halfway through, two-thirds through. So why don't you tell me what your impressions are so far?
So spoilers ahead. I might say something spoilery, so in case, and I'm like I said, I haven't finished the game, so it's not something crazy.
Sure.
But I honestly think this could be the best Star Wars game ever.
Better than KOTOR, Knights of the Old Republic.
As far as maybe not story wise,
okay,
but as gameplay and how you obviously is a little bit different in KOTOR where it's turn based kind of,
okay.
And in this it's the hack and slash
okay,
fun. Like I'm having a lot of fun with it. And
yeah,
I think the story is good.
Yeah,
it's accessible for non gamers.
If you turn down the difficulty, I would agree with that.
Yes. Yeah. But it's also challenging enough for people who want it. Like there are those different difficulties.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was weird. I know we have a friend who plays a lot of games. He's just not good at them at all. And he was like, yeah, it took me like 10, 15 times to beat this boss. And I'm like, I died once.
Yeah.
Like type of thing.
Yeah.
And so there's that extra challenge if you want it. The story's good so far, but I've heard it before.
Right. It's borrowing a lot from Rebels, I feel like.
Yeah, Kanan Jarrus, kind of his story from Rebels. Not exactly his story, but he is a Padawan who lived through Order 66.
Mm-hmm.
He went into hiding. He had to resurface because he's wanting to kind of add to this cause to overthrow this empire. And so... Yeah, I mean the story itself. That's kind of the basis of it.
Sure.
It's different. Obviously, he has a different master. He's younger at this point. Actually, they might be around the same age. I'm not actually sure how that pans out.
Yeah.
Kind of something I was thinking through the other day though when I was playing is like a couple of the things I just really wanted was more customization.
So what do you mean by that?
Like. Even if it was armor,
okay.
Like what you're wearing, you have to like basically can only pick up ponchos and like your undergarments.
You can't get like any sweet Jedi robes.
No, you can't. No,
at least so far as we know. Here.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I think that's all you can do is get like different kinds of poncho prints and stuff like that. And I'm like,
and more stuff to customize your lightsaber and like the color of your ship.
Yeah,
and stuff
that's
like that.
fine. But even the customization for the lightsaber, I feel like. Is lacking.
Well, it doesn't have like any stats increase.
No.
It's just a fashion statement.
Exactly. And if it did have stat increase, that would be awesome.
That would be awesome, yeah.
And then is there going to be DLC for this? And if there is, incorporate some of that stuff.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, my thoughts on it. So, this game takes a lot of inspiration from Uncharted and Dark Souls / Sekiro, which honestly, like, I hear people compare it more to Dark Souls. I honestly would compare it more to Sekiro just because of like some of the gameplay mechanics are more similar with like the parrying and
sure.
More acrobatic, more more vertical exploration and all that. But no, I mean I do like those influences. It's honestly good to have a good Jedi game after so long. Here.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I mean. I think the last Jedi game I played where you actually are Jedi running around with a lightsaber in like a third-person action sense was probably Jedi Knight Academy. So
yeah.
So we're talking like a ways off here, but so it's nice to actually see a modern version of that type of gameplay here.
And that's exactly what I think of when I play this game. Is Jedi Knight Academy.
Yeah, no, it's great. And so here's the thing. This game is made by Respawn. And so if I'm remembering right, these are ex-Infinity War games that made Call of Duty Modern Warfare. And they are the guys who are responsible for Titanfall and Apex Legends. Mm-hmm. So they're coming from a shooter pedigree. And the fact that they went off to the left and say, okay, we're going to make a third person, Uncharted, Dark Souls with a Metroidvania exploration here, that's honestly really surprising to me how well or how good of a job they did just like as their first outing, just doing something that's completely like new for them here, So
they knocked it out of the park, especially if this is their first go at something like this, and they did a really good job.
Yeah, no, very good job. So that being said, a couple of things that I'm not too crazy about is it can be buggy at times.
And I haven't run into that too much like a lot of other people have, I don't think. Like, Donkey had a video where
it's just
that's got to be PC, though.
Well, I'm thinking that can be PC, but I think it did have more bugs at launch. And
there's probably some patches.
I think
that came
they
through.
patched a lot of that through. But one of the things that does annoy me is like, I don't know if you ran into it in your playthrough or whatever, but when you try to heal, and it's like you're in the middle of combat and trying to heal. There'll be times where it
doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
Yeah, I have had that happen.
Yeah, and here's the thing: if this game wasn't more forgiving, because that's the thing, it's like this is, it is more difficult, like a From Software game, kind of, but it's not at that.
You're not going to get one shot by everything.
No, it's not at that caliber of difficulty, so it is more forgiving than you would see in say something like Dark Souls, Bloodborne, or Sekiro here.
Right.
But that being said, I mean, it does kind of detract from the experience, the bugs and whatnot. And then it also doesn't feel as polished as an Uncharted game or a From Software game, a Dark Souls game or whatnot here, which I mean, it's like, I get it. Again, it's Respawn. It's their first go at making a third person game. It's like,
so what do you mean by polished though?
So I think the controls aren't as tight as you would get from a Dark Souls game. Or like the climbing that you do in this game doesn't feel as good as like it would be in Uncharted or whatnot. So stuff like that.
Okay,
but
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, but overall, I'm liking this game. I think it's probably one of the better games of last year, and yeah, I'm looking forward to playing more.
Pass or play?
I would say play, but I would say buy it at discount or buy it on sale.
Okay.
Yeah,
I get that. We both bought it on sale. So
yeah.
I say play for sure. I think it's a great game.
Full price?
I would say yeah, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say full price.
All right. So next up, we kind of teased this a little bit earlier in the episode, but you are playing The Witcher 3.
I am.
For the first time.
First time ever.
What are your thoughts?
This came out how many years ago? 6?
This came out in May. It'll be 5 years.
5 years.
Yes.
Well, I wish I discovered this earlier.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
I think it's a great game. The combat, once grasped, I thought was more it seemed more complicated than it was.
Right. Yeah.
And so once I got it down, I was like, oh, this is super easy.
Right.
And when you're wanting to switch to your magic, it kind of freezes the game. It doesn't. You're not going to get hit a bunch.
Right, yeah.
And so I was kind of worried about that. I was like, dang, you're going to have to be switching really quick.
Yeah.
It's not like that. And you could literally you can kind of spam if you want to.
You honestly could, yes.
And so the story's really deep.
It is deep, yeah.
Lots of stuff's going on that I don't know because I haven't played the other games.
Right.
And so there's a lot happening. And it's kind of like picking up in if you're reading a novel and you didn't read a prequel or something, and they're just going from the gates, and they're like, here it is. Here's where we're at. And it's like, whoa, okay.
Yeah, it does throw you in the middle of things. I mean, it does get a little bit better, or you kind of get a better idea of what's going on as the game progresses here.
For sure.
Yeah.
I would say it's my new obsession.
Really?
Yeah, not even the game itself, but just the way they create the characters. I want to read the books.
Yeah.
I won't do the show just because of the content.
Sure, yeah.
But the grimdark genre or subgenre, I guess, of fantasy is an interesting genre I have not explored a bunch.
Yeah.
There's kind of those the creatures they have are grotesque and they're inherently evil. You're slicing and dicing.
Very deformed and malevolent. Here.
Yeah, it's a very dark series, and it's I would not recommend it for non-adults.
Yeah.
And so it just makes me want to read the books and know more about these characters. And so I think they did a really good job when it comes to the gameplay and storytelling. You're basically like a detective / hunter
/ medieval Jedi.
Yeah, / medieval Jedi. So there's a lot of cool concepts in there that have got me excited to keep playing and want to keep playing. It is hard, to go on a hunt, and then if you don't save,
yes,
you have to go all the way back to like the beginning, basically.
Yeah.
And
So,
it's like, ooh,
pro tip: save often. In
save
that game.
often, because
Yes.
I've gotten so mad at myself for not doing that.
So one question I do want to ask you: have you got into Gwent yet?
I have got into Gwent,
and so
I think it's cool. It's a cool game.
yeah,
there's not a ton of interaction with your opponent, like because Gwent is a card game within the game itself.
yes,
Now it's not like card games like you think, like Magic or Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh, where
Sure.
you're destroying their stuff. It's very much establishing your board state and then trying to have more points than your opponent.
yeah.
I haven't built, like, I'm using like the standard blue deck or whatever you call it.
The Northern Realms, I think.
Yeah,
is what it's called. Yeah,
for now.
Yeah.
I like Gwent. I've beaten, I think, everyone I've played so far.
Okay.
And you guys have told me, I don't know if this is a spoiler, but you have told me continue to play Gwent because it unlocks basically storylines that will help you out to getting other stuff.
I mean, you can get like some others. Yeah, you can get some stuff from playing Gwent.
So I beat the
and whatnot.
Baron pretty easily, and he gave me a card, but I don't know what card he gave me because I haven't edited my deck since then.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I mean, definitely when like a main story character says, hey, do you want to play Gwent? Play him just because you might not get the opportunity to play him later here.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So
It's a good thing I played Gwent with him then.
Yep, it's very good. So, okay, so moving on from The Witcher, we go into The Witcher.
Yeah.
So we're
But
talking
the TV show.
Yeah, we're talking about the TV show. So you are what, 3 episodes deep?
Yeah, I saw 3 episodes.
Okay. So I finished the whole season. So I'm going to kind of give you my non-spoiler review of it. So I'm just going to break it down, what I liked about it.
Okay.
I think Henry Cavill as Geralt is great. I think I had my doubts, going into this series, but I think just how he portrayed him, I think is like exactly what I wanted, how I know him from the game here. So I think he did great on that. I think basically he is the best part of the show.
Yeah.
There are some good action scenes in it. Like I definitely like, when he's some scenes where he's fighting against monsters and he's fighting against humans and all that. I think they did a pretty good job at choreographing those scenes.
Sure.
Yennefer's backstory, it is interesting because, quite frankly, I didn't really know a whole lot about her origin story from the game. So when I found out some interesting little tidbits about it, I'm like, oh, I had no idea that happened, or this is where she came from here and stuff like that. So I did kind of enjoy that aspect of it. And I think this is just really like a show, like kind of how we talked about earlier. This is a show for Witcher fans here. It doesn't really like do a whole lot, like in terms of like, explaining things or whatever. It just kind of throws you in the middle of things here for the most part.
Right.
And so, and then also Gaskier, which is he's also known as Dandelion. And Geralt's relationship, I think, is great because Geralt's very stoic, very, he might just grumble a couple of words like every now and again.
Brooding.
And stuff very brooding.
Yeah.
Whereas like Dandelion is like this bard who is like just this idiot that always is just, getting himself and Geralt into trouble here. And so like Geralt has to be like, I gotta go save your butt again here and get you out of this predicament. So no, I did like that part of it. Getting into what I didn't like, I do feel like the storytelling is convoluted. I can't really say what I mean by that without getting into some spoilers here, but I will say it's, it does make you jump through some hoops in order to understand what's going on. And it also does not do a good job to explaining to, fans who are, or people who are unfamiliar with the universe, like, what's happening. Like I said, it just throws you in the middle of things.
Right.
And then, as I kind of mentioned earlier, we get to see a little bit more of Yennefer's past, but then she goes from like kind of like one character facet to like another within a matter of episodes here. It's like the character arc happens like way too fast, in my opinion. I think they should have probably like played it out longer.
Okay.
But that's just me. So episodes 4, 5, and 6, I would say are the weakest in the series, and that's like almost half the season.
Yeah, it's a little rough.
So I mean, yeah, because out of 8
episodes.
out of 8 episodes, yeah. So I mean,
what's the deal with 8? Mandalorian's 8. This is 8.
You know, who knows? Crazy 8.
Yeah.
So, and then the last thing that on my list that I didn't like, the CGI. It's not great, but it's not terrible either. It's kind of like, I would say maybe the type of CGI we were getting in like maybe movies like roughly 10 years ago, 12 years ago, somewhere around there, I feel like. But overall, I feel like for the people who are unfamiliar with The Witcher, this is a pass.
Yeah.
I can't really recommend this to people just because I don't think people would understand like what's really going on, just because they don't really do a good job of explaining things. Heck, there were some things that even I had to look up that they were talking about that I had no idea what they were talking about.
That could be part of the world building too, obviously.
It couldn't be. But now for people who are a fan of this, or, you know, who know The Witcher, familiar, and are a fan of it, I would say this is actually, you know, a decent season. I think there are going to be things for you to enjoy in here. I mean, I would just say, you know, it's just decent. That being said, I think they do have an opportunity to knock it out of the park in season 2, just because I think they have laid a lot of the groundwork for it to actually just be just more direct and more focused. So
makes sense.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right.
Well, that's it. We are done. Thank you guys so much for listening. We greatly appreciate it. You can check us out on all of our social medias, our Twitter and our Facebook. You can check us out on YouTube. Also, be sure to drop by Apple Podcasts, subscribe, and leave a review for us, because that helps us out a great deal. You can also support us directly on our Patreon, which is patreon.com/withnerds. And you can support us directly. There's different tiers that will unlock different things for you, where you have additional content, access to episodes earlier, and so go check that out for us. And don't forget about our deep dive coming out soon, where we talk about all the cool things coming out in 2020. Have an awesome week, and remember, everyone's a nerd about something.
Keep it classy.